Good morning, everyone. Turn that one off. Hang on. Let's have a bit of a look. There we go. Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat. Good to see a few of you here. Nice and early, up and at it. Kevin, all the way from Florida. Good to see you, mate. Luke is in the house. Brendan, how you doing, buddy? What did I miss, Brendan? Tag me if there's an article I've missed. Maybe I missed that one of late. Is Dan at it again, is he? He's a bit of a menace, isn't he? Morning, Brett. Hey, all the way from Nissi. Oh, awesome. Hanging out with the love of my life. Tell her I said hello. Morning, Adrian and David, Danny, Mick. No longer friends. Morning, Mick. How are you, mate? Good to see you. There you go. What? Oh. All right. I don't want to get distracted, but you are kidding me. All right. Okay. Well, there you go. What a disaster. Anyway, might circle one around on that one tomorrow. Good morning, Alison. I hope you're well. Oh, gee, that's actually blown my mind, Adrian. Blown my mind. Anyway, there you go. Oh, whew, anyway, there you go. Politicians, absolutely crazy mad, huh? That is, that guy's a menace. I don't know why everyone voted for him. Why did anyone vote for him? Anyway, I got to stay on track today. I'll get distracted. Oh, yeah. He's a menace. He's a menace, that guy. It's too expensive. Sack a bunch of politicians and save some money, you idiot. Bloody hell. Actually, they're so self-interesting. Anyway, there you go. The madness of what's going on, team. This yeah. This is the comedy show. It's a horror show, really, at the end of the day. Yeah, gee, I tell you. Wow. All right. Well, folks, that is a bit of a shock to the system, but good morning to all of you. And Kumi, all the way from Tokyo. Great to see you. Yeah, sack him. That's right. Absolutely, Brett. Completely agree. All right, let's dig into today's conversation. Want wanted to chat to you guys about a little bit of an idea of the concept of free cash flow, free capital. And it'd be nice if it was free. It was nice if it was free, but it's not free, right? We all know that. Nothing's free in life. Two things are certain, so they say, death and taxes. But the idea of free, someone's got to pay for something somewhere. Something has to happen for us as property investors to create some cash flow and capital. What does it mean? And I want to sort of talk about that today. And I want to talk about some concepts that sometimes confuse property investors about cash flow and the differences between principal interest and interest-only lending. Yeah, let's dive into it. Let's have a chat. Let's have a conversation. See where it takes us today. See what's going on. So the idea, conversation, free cash flow, and then free capital, right? Capital. So tell me in the chat, what do you guys think? Maybe if you can make it short or whatever, you don't have to write an essay, but what do you think these two terms refer to, mean? Free cash flow, that's an F, by the way, flow. Free cash flow, put it in the chat what you think it is. Free cash flow when it comes to you and I as property investors, and free capital. What are they? Okay. What is this referring to when we are chatting, when we're talking, when you're thinking about your property portfolio? Good morning, Facebook user, whoever that is. Hello, good morning to you. Tell me, what do you think? What do you think free cash flow means? What do you think free capital means in reference to us as property investors? Brendan. Yeah, maybe you should be dialing into the Wealth, Wine and Wisdoms in the morning. I can give you a few tips. So, free cash flow. Let's call it free cash flow. Free CF and then free cap. Okay. Free cash flow is the usable. I better not write this out because it might take forever. So the usable cash, so the net cash in your pocket, there's a C there, after all expenses. Okay, so in comes the money, which is usually in the form of what, folks? Usually in the form of rent, right? It goes to pay your expenses, which can include multiple things, which is your insurances, your agent's fees, your et cetera. And then there should be a net income, a net cash flow, or whatever. I call it free cash flow because it's cash flowing from your property after all expenses and after taxes to you in your pocket, right? That's what it is. Okay, that's free cash flow. Now, free capital equals money or dollars you can access at a moment's notice. All right, and let's just call that within. Let's say 1 hour. Okay. So I want you guys to sort of see this as we sort of talk this morning. A lot of words on the screen today. Free cash flow, the net cash in your pocket after all your expenses. And yes, positive cash flow for sure, Tim. The cash flow before tax, after tax, whatever it looks like, whatever process you're applying to the money or your income from your real estate, and then the capital access to your wealth at a moment's notice. Now, I talk about this all the time. I know a lot of people who've got a lot of wealth on paper but can't get access to it. So you don't have any free capital, and in essence, it's not real. If you can't use it, it's not real. That's the way I see it. Some people call that concept the concept of liquidity. Liquidity. It's a fancy term that financial planners and bankers like to use to make themselves sound smart and maybe confuse you about what it means. The liquidity, what? Like, get a drink or something? No, it's the access to your wealth in the form of cash, real cash, you to buy something at a moment's notice, as quick as you want. All right. So we've got these two conversations today that I want to have a bit of a talk about. Now, my internet seems to be playing up a little bit, but we shall see. I'll just keep rolling, and you guys tell me in the chat if it cuts in or cuts out or whatever it might be. So, free cash flow, free capital. What does this mean? So, it's best analyzed or best understood when we have a look at our little calculators here. And let me go over and I'll grab our calculators and we'll work out a few things, hopefully, today. Hopefully, the info, you can see it well enough, and we'll zoom in and see if we can make this work. All right. So let's have a look at our little wealth planner here. You guys have seen this before, and if you haven't, I'll take you through it. All right. This is a little passive income forecaster. What are we going to do as a property investor? Hey, I'm starting now. 2022 is when I fill this out. I've got a goal for 15 years. I want some passive income. I'm going to go down here and I'm going to start with my principal place of residence. This is my property, 850 and so on, loan amount. And then I've got to create my portfolio. I've got to go ahead and buy. So what I've done is I've purchased just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 investment properties. Let those run when in the form of capital growth. I've put in 5%. In the form of rent growth, I've put in 4%. You can change that. 3-4% is probably around about right. It's never linear, folks. You guys know this. It goes up and across and sometimes down and then back up. But this is a forecaster. This is a kind of a concept of putting your portfolio together. What might it look like? All right. So let's fast forward 15 years and have a look at up here, this situation, this section. I'll zoom in a little so we can see it a little better. What things might look like when it comes to our portfolio. All right. So we're in 15-year territory. This is 2037. That's a way out into the future. What might things look like? Now, let's have a look at this. Our gross rent, which is our total cash flow, entering your world is $319,000 worth of rent or thereabouts in 15 years' time. Now, tell me in the chat, team, who would love to create $319,000 worth of rent, passive income coming your way? Who would love that? Who would love $319,000 worth of passive income? And even if we went and changed this down here and we changed these percentages, let's say 3%. Let's just do that. Let's go 3%. Right. Yeah, me. Yeah, I'd be down with that. Yes, please, right? And so even at 3%, that's $276,000 worth of rent. That's still pretty good, right? Over a 15-year period. From today, your rent starts out at a X dollars, and over time, it grows, right? Okay. And so it's interesting. A lot of people, I think I've showed this before, and I might even show this. As your properties, especially in residential real estate, folks, as your properties grow in value, the percentage against its value of the rent starts to slow down, right? So your rent doesn't grow as fast as your capital value, okay? And so over a 15-year period, let's say the property values double. On average over a 15-year period, folks, most property rents only go up 50% more, okay? And so some do a little bit more, but they often do not double, okay? So rents don't, on average, double at the same rate that capital value doubles. So that's an interesting thing to sort of keep in our mind as we look at this. So I've adjusted that to 3% growth, and that's adjusted our cash flow or our gross passive income. So it's fantastic, okay? Fantastic, $276,000. But what is our free cash flow, team? What's our free cash flow? Now, that it's a bit hard to see that right there. But what's our free cash flow? Now, this is before tax. So this spreadsheet doesn't allow for tax and bits and pieces. So we'll go and adjust something in a minute on this other spreadsheet. But what is it? It's negative $31,000. So you're like, holy shit. Excuse the French. My actual free cash flow is negative 31. Oh, crikey. You know, that's not good. And most people go, oh, my free cash flow is negative 31. I'm 15 years in. This is rubbish. All right. It would be actually positive cash flow after tax, folks, just so you know. And most of you would structure your property portfolio with the rents and the types of properties in a way that they would be self-sustaining. But let's just say this. So what's going on? All right. And I talk to investors all the time in this space, and they're going, oh, you know, it's not working. It's not working. Property investing is not working. It's not for me, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. And I go, well, what's not working? You have $270 of rent coming in. That's a pretty good outcome. And what they're saying to me is like, oh, but listen, it's costing me $30K a year. It's costing me $30K a year. All right. So I go, okay, well, let's look at what's going on here for you. Okay. Now, like I said, that's before tax. After tax, it'd probably be neutral or even positive. This sheet doesn't include the tax back. We can do that on another calculator. Okay. So, disaster. No, it's not a disaster. What is happening? There's a few things happening here. At year 15 and in the calculator, well, at about year 5, something's kicked into your portfolio, folks. Tell me what usually happens. How we set our loans up is we go interest only for 5 years and then principal interest for the time after that. And sometimes you might extend the interest only for a little bit. But what's going on? Well, there are principal and interest payments being made. Are you losing? Exactly, Alison. Are you losing $30,000 a year? Is that an absolute loss out of your pocket and you're never going to see it again? What is happening? What's happening? A portion of that $30,000 is going into what? Where's that portion going, folks? Where's that principal payment going? Tell me in the chat. It might be a cash flow negative, but it's not a cash flow loss. Okay? Tell me in the chat, where's it going? There's some money going out of your pocket. Some's going to the interest. Yes, fine. Matter of fact, the rent's probably paying the interest. It's paying down the debt. That is dead right. And by default, Luke, it's debt reducing, and by default, creating equity. Folks, it's not a loss. It's not a loss. And everyone's losing their mind at the moment because the interest rates have gone up and maybe you've got to pay principal and interest. Well, it's not free cash flow. So your cash flow is affected. So that might be an issue you need to manage for sure, you know, and hopefully you've got buffers and you've got ahead of it. But are you actually losing all this money? It's not a loss. It is going towards debt reduction and building your equity, okay? Hence, this conversation, sometimes your net cash flow is not positive but negative. But if it's a principal and interest payment, then that negative is not a loss. It's going into your capital value, your capital wealth, okay? So hopefully you're following along here because it's a bit of a complicated conversation, but it's not ultimately an issue if you understand what's going on. You understand what value you're adding. So what value are we adding, folks? Have a look up here. Even though that's negative in a free cash flow term, we are building equity up here. And you can look at the top here. A portion of that principal payment is going into your equity. Now, and you guys have seen me do this before. Let's change this. Let's do the time frame. So this is like in the middle of our process. So let's go out to 20 years. The next 5 years, but check it out, folks. The difference between year 15, so you're in the middle of it, you're going, oh, crikey, am I getting there with this thing? Check this out. Okay, check it out. This goes from year 15 to year 20, 5 years, and things change, all right? Your free cash flow now is $40,000 plus some tax deductions, so probably 50 to 80, depending on. I just caught up with a good buddy of mine. He's a client as well. I've been helping him buy his properties. He's getting $120,000 back in tax, folks. He earns a lot of money. We've got him a lot of properties, new, good tax deductions. But, after tax, 40K free cash flow and then some tax deductions on paper, pretty good. Now we're in the money. Folks. Years 20 onwards, let's go to year 25, a free cash flow. So free cash flow, our total cash flow, our total passive income is 370. There's our expenses, and now our free cash flow is 91. We're still paying off our properties. We've got some free cash flow in our pocket, plus we're reducing the debt. So this is where this is where the money, this is where the rubber meets the road. And, what happens year 30, let's have a look at that. Happy days, folks. We're starting to look pretty sweet out there in 20 or 30 years time. Can you speed that up? Yes. Can you speed it? How do you speed it up? Well, folks, there's ways to use, if you've got more cash flow in your personal life, you can debt reduce a bit earlier. You can get some more income out of your properties by short letting and tax deductions and other income stream activities. And one of the activities that I like, folks, is, you guys know this, the joint ventures, the income engine, taking some of this equity up here, because it's not really working. This equity is not working, right? You don't have access to that free capital. I talked about that the other day. If I said you get $2 million out of that straight away, most people will go, well, you got 1 hour. I've got the best deal on the planet. You've got 1 hour. Get me $1 million out of your equity. You're like, oh, I can't do it. I don't have access to it, right? So that is what's called the access to free capital, folks. Free capital, the speed at which you can access your capital. Anyway, there you go. The conversation for me really today was based on this conversation the other day when I was talking to someone about, the misunderstanding of their portfolio was negative cash flow for the moment because their payments had kicked into principal and interest. And my opinion when it comes to the acquisition phase, folks. I believe in acquisition, you should be at interest only. If you wanted to make an extra payment, then you put that in the offset, because that cash in the offset gives you the access to, folks, free capital, okay? And so in the acquisition phase, the acquisition phase could last, up to 10 to 12 years. So you might do, 1 5-year interest-only section, and then kick into another 5-year interest-only session. Okay, so you might over two sessions have 10 years worth of interest only running an offset account, because you need access to your capital to buy the next deal. All right. Okay. So, yeah. Perfect, Alison. That's great. So, like what Alison said, check in with your coach team, make sure you got the right cash flow set up and those sorts of things. And, paying down debt, if you're in that phase where, acquisition's done, you've got a bit of free cash flow, you don't mind accelerating the debt reduction, then sure, no problems. If you've got spare cash flow, you've got spare income, it's not disappearing, by the way. It's money sitting in an asset that compounds and, often pays you back. Not at the cost of acquisition, though. But anyway, there you go. All right, folks. That's it. Wealth Coffee Chat done today. Over and out. Thanks for joining me. Good to see you. I hope that was useful in one way, shape, or form today. But join me tomorrow for another one. And if you do have any thoughts, it's interesting. It's interesting to hear what Dodgy Dan has done. I'm going to go check that out now. That's blown me away. Anyway, all right, folks. Wealth Coffee Chat, done and dusted. You guys be good. Take care. See you tomorrow for another one. Till then, remember, this thing's a marathon, not a sprint. It's going to take some time. All right, folks. Bye-bye.